We are live! Welcome to the Crafty Boys, everybody. We are down a member today because I don't know what he's doing. He has a life, apparently. But yeah, we're drinking beer. It's Saturday night, and that's the best time to drink beer. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. With the exception being of any other time.
Ah, well, so basically any time is okay.
Yeah.
And but Saturday
It's
is
five
just a
o'clock
thing.
somewhere, right?
Good point.
Yes.
So what the hell was I doing? I was looking up, trying to find Locke here, but I don't know where the heck he is. He has not responded to any communication, so we're just gonna have to make do. We're just gonna survive without him, and I
Okay.
think that we're capable of doing it. And so let's start with you. What beer are you drinking
All
this
right.
evening?
So, as most people know, I'm really not big on sour beers. I've kind of soured on the whole sour beer thing. But I saw this one and it kind of intrigued me, mainly because I like cherries. I've never heard of this brewery before. It's called
Okay,
Abandoned Rail Brewing.
Abandoned Rail Brewing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking.
And
I'm
this
looking this
is
up.
their beer Okanagan Cherries, which is a sour, cherry kettle sour. It clocks in at 4.6%, only has an
Okay,
IBU rating of 10. Where
good.
are they from?
They are from Penticton. I can tell you
Penticton,
that
I
much.
could have guessed. Yeah, so I'm just going to crack this open and we're going to see
Do
what
it.
this is all about. Okay.
Good pour noise.
It is quite frothy. Has a bit of a reddish hue to it. I don't know if that's coming through in the
Yes, it is. It's
in the
actually good. That's very red. That's good.
it is, but actually the head is pink
Oh.
visually to me, and I don't know if that's coming through on camera.
Not really. It's more in the reddish tone, but it works.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really good. You can really taste the cherries. The nice part about it is the sour part is kind of it's minimal. Um, it is definitely a sour. You can taste the detect the sourness to it, but it's not like puckering like some other sour beers out there. It's very mild. This is nice. The problem that I have with some sours that are like this is that you can drink them really, really quickly. They're very highly quaffable. A little
Yes,
bit too
especially
quaffable.
when they're on that sweet end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this one is a bit on that sweet end. I mean, you could like chug this thing back if you wanted to. And the thing is, it doesn't really come off as like a beer, right? It almost tastes like a carbonated juice or something. Actually, that's probably what I would say. If nobody told me this was a beer, I would just think that this was some sort of like carbonated, like a sparkling cherry juice.
Okay. I mean, that's generally what we tend to run into for these kinds of drinks like that. We also have had what is that other style of beer that we've had lately? Not lately, but the recently. Um, which is I
Like
think
a Brett saison or something.
yeah, it was like I think it was a saison. You're right. It wasn't a sour, but it's that whole dangerous thing where it tastes like juice. You're right. Like it's regardless of what style of beer it is, there's that element of drink me, I'm fine. Where you kind of want your booze to have a little bit of a reminder that it's booze.
Yeah,
Like malt liquor, for example, is horrible. and you never forget that it's gross. But usually when people buy that kind of drink, they're there for a reason.
But as I say, this one is only 4.6%. So even if you did chug it back, I kind of question how much you'd feel it. But
Well, my beer definitely is not chuggable unless you're crazy like Locke maybe. But this is 70. This is 33 Acres of Nirvana, which is by a brewery called, surprisingly, 33 Acres. And they, oh, geez, I just about dropped my can. They are located about, I don't know, 5-6 blocks from here,
that's what I thought.
and they're not bad. I mean, I've gone to their tasting room. Wow,
Mhm.
that's really effervescent. I had one of these earlier just because I wanted beer, and that is really clear. That's way clearer than a usual IPA. Like, this not hazy in any way. There's a huge amount of clarity. Um, there's no detectable hops, so they must have filtered this at the end. But
What's
it
the
smells
style?
great.
What's the style?
Hang on, I'm busy drinking.
Oh, sorry.
That's refreshing and not very powerful in the. Apparently, it's made of barley, but it's an IPA,
Okay.
and it is strong beer, and there's nothing else except the address on the can. The thing about it, 33, 33. I keep hitting the. I'm gonna put this up here. The branding for 33 Acres, from their branding room from their tasting room to the brewery. The branding is always the same. It's a very basic white with bold lettering, and so I mean this is the extent of their branding on anything. So basically, it's really a good thing to share with people because it's a decent product.
Right.
Hmm.
We have a comment.
Oh, we do. Malt liquor works every time. Yeah, that is true. It is something that glad you're visiting quickly. Um, the the malt liquor problem that we had, which was, I don't know, 70 episodes ago or so, however many it's been, was we tried out what was the popular one? The
Well, Colt 45.
Colt 45, direct from Monsieur Calrissian.
And
We also had what the hell's going on with my hair? Um, what was that classic
Old
one?
English
Oh, Old English. That's right, the Old English
500 or
800
whatever.
or whatever the heck it is, and they were both disgustingly horrible.
Horrible.
Was there a third one? I thought we had a
No.
third one.
Oh,
That was just
God.
those
I
two.
hope not.
But anyway, they were terrible, and we suffered horribly through them. But overall, I mean, I like we were saying earlier, is that it was basically, if you want to get a job done, malt liquor is the way to go. Um, and but it's just the worst. It is just the worst. There's no craft to it. There's no
Okay. Well,
flavor profile. It's like, let's hide some liquor inside of a barley can.
let's be fair. Okay. The
Okay, all right.
definition of malt liquor is a beer that has more than, I think, 5.5%.
Yes, which
So
is a very
if you're
US
drinking
based
any
thing.
kind of a beer that's more than 5.5% in the US, it is considered to be a malt liquor.
Okay, so malt liquor is basically mass produced, ranging from 5 to 12% ABV, often produced using corn, rice, sugar, malted barley, which increases the fermentable sugars and thus the alcohol content. Malt liquor is frequently sold in larger cans and often 40-ounce containers, which is, I think, what we had for the Old English
Yes.
one. The Colt 45 were used like typical beer can style or size. Um,
And the thing
due
is,
to
I had
the
to buy it in like a 6-pack, so I had like,
oh god, yeah.
uh,
So, due to the higher alcohol content in the United States, malt liquor is not categorized as beer and is classified separately.
Yeah.
So, it's really kind of interesting that we haven't actually had any uh, discussions about IPAs in the States, because generally they have. Yeah, we did take it for the team. It was awful. Oh my god.
It was a
Um,
viewer that suggested it to us.
Oh, that's right. That is true. That we didn't. We yes, we did not do this on purpose. This was purely somebody saying you should try this. Probably because I bitched about ape swamp ape again, which is very much a disgusting IPA from Florida. Um, and I thought I was being cultured. I was being cultured. Being in Florida, I thought I should try the local craft
Cultured
beer.
in Florida don't mix.
This is a good point. This is a good
Can't
point.
say those two words in the same sentence.
I really think we should go back to the days of piracy. Like, I think that would be, riding around on, yeah, bastards giving us ideas and stuff. The back to the days of, like, we're talking, man of wars and frigates and sloops and things. There are many
Schooners.
video games, schooners even. Oh god, the schooner at Boston Pizza. Oh,
I know.
I remember that fondly. Uh, but yeah, going back to those days, would be kind of fun. I think, with all the brutality and syphilis and everything else. But it'd be kind of fun to ride around on a ship and take Port Royal again and again and again until it's
Captain, I have scurvy.
throw them overboard. God, oh yeah, I forgot about scurvy. That's never a good thing. I would wager that we should probably not. Is your we should get more beer with oranges in it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing wrong with a good pint once in a while. But I don't know. But would we survive in the age of piracy? Like, I'm talking like the golden age of pirates
Us?
and things. Yeah, would we
Take a
survive?
look at your hands. Tell me how many calluses you see on it.
Oh, we're screwed.
Yeah. We would die.
Do that thing with the stuff and the ropes and things, and we would cry quietly.
Yeah.
And then get beaten up. I think I'd probably get beaten up a lot. I want my mother. take the silver train. Actually, okay. The reason I'm thinking about piracy in the back of my mind is I just recently started watching something that Locke has told us both to watch 70,000 times over. Is a show called Black Sails, which is basically it's, from what I understand, it's treated as a prequel to Treasure Island, where the character of Long John Silver is, he's kind of a wussy dude, I think, at least so far in the episodes that I've watched. And the ship that he's on is plundered by the lead character, whose name escapes me at the moment. I've only watched one episode. But basically, Long John Silver, or John Silver, sorry, is captured and decides he's going to pretend he's a cook, because apparently cooks don't get killed because they're in short supply when you're a ship with a bunch of dudes on it running around pillaging and raping and all that kind of stuff. So therefore, learning to brew alcohol is a very, very important skill to have in those day and age. So I suspect that you and we might survive if we could go. We could make beer, and then they would, allow us to live. I think that's something that we should aspire to. Should we ever find ourselves in a DeLorean that crash lands, in the Bahamas somewhere?
Have you ever kind of like fantasized about that you have like a time traveling DeLorean and you go back to like, I don't know, like the 1850s or something in your town? And what would happen?
Honestly, I don't know if I would want to do that. There are moments in Victoria that I would like to see in the past, like a cousin of mine who passed away from surgery for appendicitis in 1914, a couple of months before the outbreak of World War One. He was a captain. He was mid 30s, early 30s. I seem to remember. He was a captain in the British military, and had appendicitis, had surgery for it, but ended up dying anyway due to infection. But that's not what I want to see. I don't want. Hi, I'm one of your descendants from 100 years in the future. I want to watch you die. No, uh, I want to see the procession because the only reason I know this gentleman existed at all was I had a cousin, or have a cousin who lives in North Carolina or something, and he called me one day because there was a family rumor that Joe Flannery's hands were like, they're alive, they're alive in the Old West. Yes, this is true. God, I love that film, and I love Joe Flannery. Isn't he's passed away, isn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's just not too long ago. But anyway, so they called me and I went to Victoria. This is like 2003 or 4, and I went to Ross Bay Cemetery and I located where his headstone was. It was broken in half and fallen face down. It was partially grown over, and so I did contact the I believe at the time, and they might still be called this, the War Archives in England, and because he died outside of wartime, they will not replace his headstone, which I think that's bullshit, but whatever. Um, so anyway, so I located him, found out that he had not committed suicide, was the family concern, and the news article from the Colonist or the Times, whichever newspaper it was, had said that he had full honors, the whole thing, like a procession. People had been there in droves. There was a parade, like all of this stuff had happened. That would be one moment I'd like to go and see. I'd like to see that, just because I'd want to be quiet in the shadows and just be an observer. But that would be one thing I'd like to see in Victoria. I can't think of anything else that jumps to mind. I mean, we've seen film from Victoria and Vancouver from 19 something, and so you kind of get a sense of what it is. I don't know. For a while though, I definitely wanted to see more, but I don't know. As I get getting older, I just don't give a shit as much as I used to.
You know what I would like? I just like to see the landscape of
Victoria prior to
well, not even Victoria, but like say like in Saanich before there was farmland and all that, and just it was like just wide open country. Or maybe it wasn't wide open country. There's probably
everything here was wide open country.
There may have been
tree won't even be there.
Creeks or something that got filled in or whatever.
Yeah, true.
I'd like to go back and sort of like see if I can find like say a hill or a rock formation or something. Say, hey, I know where this is. I have context. I'd like
that would be kind of cool. I remember reading a novel by Michael Crichton years and years ago. The novel was called, I think, Timeline. Excuse me. Where the character in the book, I can't remember the plot of the novel. It was just kind of a throwaway book, but the one passage I remember was the lead character went back to France in 1210 or something. Like there was a particular year, and the one thing that the part of that passage was the air smelled different. So prior to the Industrial Revolution, prior to all this stuff, he was noticing right away that it didn't smell like the world. It smelled cleaner, it smelled different. I don't think they said cleaner, but just different, which I thought was it was a nice little touch. The medieval time traveling. Yes, that's the one exactly. Um, so yeah, and I just enjoyed that little tidbit. Like again, I don't remember the book really at all, except of the time traveling back to medieval France, I think it was. Um, but yeah, little tiny things like that. And then I read his maybe 10 years ago, the novel they found in his desk after he died, uh, called something. Basically, it's about pirates, but it was about um, the pirates in the Caribbean. Um, I've forgotten the year. I'll just assume it was the golden age of piracy or whatever, which is like 17 something. Um, but ultimately, it was about uh, as much detail as possible. And I guess he wrote it a number of years before he died, and he just hadn't got around to getting it edited or published. Um, so it was a good read. I enjoyed that one. Again, I only remember a few details. I kind of treat those books as being fairly, uh, you read them and you move on.
Yeah.
But what was the last novel you read, Alan? For the pleasure of reading.
For the pleasure of reading?
Yeah, when was the last time you read a book?
God, before I had kids, definitely.
So we're talking mid 90s now.
At least.
Well, the latest book.
It probably was a Star Wars novel. Like,
oh yeah, that's right. Because that was when those right the Heir to the Empire stuff had dropped.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
like
probably
4 or 5
those
years
books.
before. Yeah.
Whatever the third one was called.
Can't remember, but I'll look it up because I kind of want to know.
Third one in the Timothy Zahn series.
Heck, what's the third book?
And there were some Star Trek novels that came out around the same time.
The Last Command. So Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command.
Right.
I remember enjoying those, but I read them in the 90s, like not long after they came out.
I enjoyed them too. But I don't remember anything about them.
No, I mean the only thing I really remember is about Thrawn, who of course has become a big, huge character in all the Star Wars. Like he's in the Ahsoka TV show. He was in a bunch of the
he was in Rebels.
Rebels, that's right. So he was like the big bad in that one. But yeah, that's basically where he came from. I'm glad they repurposed him. Like they actually brought him out of those novels into
really
into stuff.
character.
So, but yeah, I gotta say,
I read I can't remember if I read this one before The Last Command or after, but it was a Star Trek novel, and it was about the Enterprise B. After it came out, it was published after Star Trek Generations.
Okay.
And again, I don't remember anything about it, but it followed the crew of the Enterprise B on some mission,
some grand adventure.
Yeah.
But and I mean that particular ship, nothing got done until Tuesday.
No.
What do you mean you don't have a thing? It won't be installed till Tuesday.
We don't have a medical staff. Tuesday.
Actually, I would love to read books that have what was his name? The Captain Harriman, played by Alan Ruck, at least in Generations. Like that to me would be a very cool series to follow, because I tend to like books that have a few entries into them. When it comes to science fiction and things like that, I tend to like stuff that has a bit of a story arc, because I hate I've become one of those people that if you have a TV show and it gets canceled after a season, I will not begin watching it, no matter how good it is. The only exception, of course, was Firefly in my world, but yeah, there's all of these things that I keep seeing that I go, oh, I should probably watch that. Sounds interesting, but then I won't do it.
There's no point in getting
Captain Cameron. Yeah.
There's no point in getting yourself hooked into a series if you know that it's not going to finish.
Exactly, and that's the problem. And then I think that like right now I'm rereading a series called The Murderbot Diaries, which I read 5-6 years ago. There's about 7 or 8 novels, and now it's a TV show on Apple Plus or whatever. So I'm rereading it just because I remember enjoying it, because the books are actually quite thin. Like, they're not that, there's maybe 150, 200 pages. And they're just simple, entertaining stuff. It's kind of like the author, David Baldacci, who's got one of those typewriters that pumps out books every 5 seconds, kind of like Piers Anthony back in the day. And they're just forgettable when I want to read something, but I don't want to be engaged in a huge way.
Right.
I just want to be I want to be entertained. That's when I tend to read those. And I've read in the last decade probably about 30 books of his. And but the Murderbot Diaries, I read all of the books that were out at the time. I think there's been one or two since. And I like burned through them in like a month, maybe less, because they were just such simple things to read. But I gotta say that I've enjoyed the pouring of a pint and reading a book undisturbed for a little while. I've kind of that's sort of my favorite thing to do in terms of reading. But yeah, I mean, those kinds of things where, actually, I'm gonna look it up. I want to know how many books Captain Harriman had.
I don't think it's a lot.
Captain John Harriman. Let's see. He's had how many book adventures? So, So, talk amongst yourselves while I try to figure this out here.
There's only me here, so.
Okay, so there have been actually several novels.
Oh,
The
okay.
Captain's Daughter, Serpents Among the Ruins. Wow, he's got about 6 or 7 here. Although I have to admit, like, novels in say Star Trek. Oh, there's also a Mirror Universe novel.
Oh, really?
Called The Sorrows of Empire, where he is a lieutenant assigned to the ISS Hornet. Later, and then was transferred to the ISS Enterprise.
Probably because you couldn't get stuff until Tuesday.
Exactly. Michael Okuda, who is like that famous guy that worked on Star Trek for a while, worked on Star Trek Starship Creator. I guess this is a video game of some kind. Includes several connections to Ruck's role as Cameron Fry in the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, including a wife named Sloane and a son named Ferris. So there you go. That's just bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So there's a bunch of things where you can actually enjoy these characters forever.
I think it was the Captain's Daughter was the one that I read, because I seem to remember that it focused on Sulu's. It focused on Demora Sulu.
That, honestly, I loved that touch in Generations where you learned about Sulu kind of living his life, which is nice. I mean, actually, remember when they made Sulu gay in
yes,
in the what do they call it now?
In the
Kelvin timeline. I remember reading that long letter that that's Sulu. Oh my
God,
George Takei wrote about how he was pissed off that had happened, because he's like, the character is not gay and there's no reason to make him gay. Yeah. I suppose a mirror universe thing, which I guess the Kelvin timeline is in a way. But I just like finding out more about the characters. Actually, this just came to mind just now. You remember the film The Abyss? Yeah. So the film The Abyss had a great novel, basically the novelization of that film, which I don't normally read because I find novelizations kind of dumb. Yeah. because if like try reading A New Hope as a novel rather than the film, right? But I did appreciate that particular novel because the hello, uh, that particular novel uh, was based off of the actual script, not the film. So the author had access to all this other information that
Okay.
wasn't in the film. So basically, the first half of the novel are these 3 chapters, essentially, or 3 mini books or whatever, that are covering the backstories of the 3 lead characters in the film. So I found that really fascinating. Like uh, what's the actor with the who was in the main lead? Um, they had Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Her character, her ex-husband's character, um, and then they also had the third
There's
character
Michael
was
Bean was in
the
it.
Michael Bean character. And so you got all of this information that you would not have gleaned really at all from the film. And then they also went into the details about the alien race, which again are details you'd never guess from the film. So it was probably one of the few times where I appreciated the actual
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there.
information. Yeah.
Because it's not really explained in the movie, at least I don't think it is. Is that an alien race, or is it an earthbound race that we just hadn't discovered yet?
They are an alien race.
Okay.
They arrived on. I'm going to remember this badly since it's been quite some time since I read that book. But essentially, they arrived on Earth, but because they were a sea-dwelling species from another planet, uh, they needed a lot of pressure to survive. So they went to the bottom of the ocean. They found a comfortable whatever. But yeah, they were an alien race that came down, and there was a purpose for it. It was like during the Vietnam War or something. Like there was some sort of conflict on Earth that got their attention. Possibly, maybe it was World War II. Um, but
And how did they manage to get down into the ocean without anybody noticing?
it was
They were
quite
like,
some
"Hey, look
time.
at
Like,
that over there!"
yeah, yeah, exactly. Land the ship now. Um, but again, I'd have to. Well, actually, I'll look up the novel again. Um, but the Abyss novel. Um, but yeah, there was actually quite. Oh God, it was written by Orson Scott Card. Who knew? Um, but essentially, uh, why does everyone want to bash poor Orson Scott Card? Yeah, he doesn't like gay people. I'm sorry. He's a religious dude. Hate him if you want, but good lord. But anyway, yeah. So there's basically there's a ton of okay. That's not. I'm not finding the right link with enough info, but there was a big deal about it and about the
Okay.
aliens coming down to save
You know,
our species.
I think the story is much more compelling if it's actually just an earthbound species that we never discovered. Like a
That is
city of
true.
Atlantis kind of thing with
Well, I mean, yeah, if you look at it from the perspective of here's a big, huge tidal wave that I'm going to wipe you out with, um, there is that element of it, which kind of could lead to their argument that they are trying to save a planet they have some, they're interested in saving.
yeah.
I remember there was a lot of telepathic stuff that they were able to modify technology using their minds, kind of thing. Um,
Okay.
and there was some discussion about them taking over satellites, I seem to remember, with their minds for some reason. But
Oh.
I don't recall exactly what that was all about. I mean, I could be remembering that badly. I think the first half of the book, like the story of the film, was the sort of the second half of the book, but I um, didn't really get too attached to that part. I
Right.
just appreciated the character information, like what these what was driving them, a little
Right.
more than I have a bit of a tremor and whatnot. But it also makes me think of the book Lucifer's Hammer, I think is what it's called, which is a end of the world novel that I read eons ago.
I think there was also a porn named that.
Yeah, Thor's Hammer. No, what is it called? Yeah, it's called Lucifer's Hammer. Is it Thor's Hammer? No, that's a beer. Uh, where basically an asteroid hits the Earth and wipes out humanity, kind of thing.
Mm.
But there's a great visual in that where this guy who knows the world is ending, if I remember correctly, um, goes and decides he's going to surf the tidal wave created by the this impact. So he actually goes out and he's this tiny speck on this massive tidal wave. But I don't know. I think if the world was going to end tomorrow with a big tidal wave, I'd probably do the same thing. What would you do if the world was ending tomorrow and we knew it was going to end?
2 chicks.
That's the show, everybody. 2 chicks, right on. I don't. The world's gonna end tomorrow. Would I? No, right now, definitely
I
not.
don't know.
But I was just gonna say, I would want to be referred to as Caligula. God, what would I do? What would be the last thing on earth I'd want to do? I can't think of a single thing. That's really sad.
And the thing is, it wouldn't matter anyway because
No, it's true. I mean,
it's
there's
not like
a.
you're going to leave behind a legacy or anything.
It's like that Australian film from I don't know 5-10 years ago where um, I think it's yet another asteroid impact story, but there's a large wall of fire that's slowly going across the planet, and these guys all end up going to Perth on the western side of Australia, and there's all this debauchery going on, and people are just murdering each other and whatnot. And this character, the lead character of this film, is I think protecting a pregnant lady, which in hindsight, if that's the story, like what would be the point? But anyway, but yeah, it was basically a Scarif moment at the end of Rogue One, which by the way, I just watched a second time through the second season of Andor. I'm assuming you've seen it.
I'm not all the way through yet.
Okay.
I'm up to episode 8. I'm having a difficult time with it in that the amount of time between the first season and the second season was kind of long. And I started watching the second season when it came out. I'm like, who is this person again? Like, why is this? What was their role? What? Who is that? So we're kind of like, should we go back and watch season 1 again before we didn't? So we're still trying to.
There is a great YouTube channel called Screen Crush that I do watch, and there is actually on Disney Plus. There's also a recap of season 1 video I did notice, which I haven't watched. But
and that was actually one thing that we wished that before the first episode of the second season. I wish that they had done sort of like a little thing to get us last season on Andor, and give us sort of like a summary of what happened and who the main players were. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, a reminder because it had been a couple of years since I think when was the 2022 is when the first season came out.
Probably.
But I agree, Sean, because that show gets very close to the bone. Kind of, it does George Lucas better than George Lucas because, as much as I shit on the prequel trilogy, I do appreciate the attempt at talking about how fascism and whatnot becomes a thing. But Andor definitely, but the way that the prequels attack it is that it's written from, people in the Senate, but it's also from the Jedi sort of space police level.
Right.
Then, of course, you have the Clone Wars. But the part that Andor does very well is the average individual where you and I dwell. Um, that, not necessarily people that are aware of what's going on politically to 100% of certainty. We're not the movers and shakers of that sort of level of government. Um, and people that are surrounding that. So I appreciate Andor, especially uh, giving a street level view of, hi, my name is Bill and I run a store that sells art. And then suddenly outside your door, you have a bunch of crazy people saying, all kinds of shit. Um, and it's done so well in that uh, pseudo French language for the bulk of the Gorman stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like, I mean, there's no way anyone who's read a history book would not realize what was being done was to try and connect us to our real history here. Um, so yeah, I appreciated a lot of that stuff, and I enjoyed um, the uh, average Joe in the Star Wars universe perspective. Um, like, actually, the character for the first season, uh, Lucius? No, not Lucius. Luthen? No, not Luthen.
Uh,
Um, the dude on Gorman. I'm the guy who runs the standards department or whatever.
Cyril.
Cyril. Like, his character. So you're in episode 8.
I just finished episode 7 last night. So.
Oh, 7. Okay. So 8 is where he really grows up. Where he is a character who has been that touchstone for somebody who's within the government, but at a low level. Like, he's like some peon filling out paperwork, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And
it's really being used.
And his girlfriend is, or whatever the hell she is. His girlfriend is essentially the I'm following orders kind of character. And so you have the following orders, and then the guy who follows orders but doesn't like it when he realizes what's going on. So there's a lot of that. They've got all these characters filling all these different levels of this stuff to try and tell us the story.
Yeah.
His beggar. Yes. Turn off all the lights and take off all your clothes.
We don't need safe words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've seen that actress in a few other things, and she's brilliant. And it's very much basically, I don't want to spoil anything, but essentially I'll just say this, that over the next 4 episodes that you get to see, that's when shit gets incredibly real. And 8 or 7 is when it's I want to say 6, but 6 definitely not, but definitely 7 onward. Becomes a little closer to reality than I think people would like. So there's all those elements of it that are definitely.
I mean, I like to shit on the Disney Star Wars universe, but I mean, sometimes they just hit a home run, like Andor. Pardon me. Rogue One. The first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I liked Ahsoka as well. So I mean, when they do Star Wars right, they really do it right. And when they do it not right, they really do it not right.
Yeah, and I think that it definitely comes from the writing level. I mean, let's discuss Willow. Oh, we can't. It's gone. Where the writing is the writing and the performances, or sorry, not the performance, the directing. When those are married together, I don't think that cinema or television works very well. I think that there's definitely, I mean, basically a lot of individuals out there that review this kind of stuff as part of their living, like the Critical Drinker, I think is his name on YouTube, and he really attacks this stuff because of the message, as he always puts it. But that's the problem, is that it's like writers these days have forgotten how to tell a story where you don't need to browbeat your audience. If you want to say something, what you need to say can be done if you take enough time to write it properly. Where, um, I mean, it's basically the equivalent of fan fiction. You know, you have these things being made that are in the fan fiction realm because you have these individuals who really, really, really want a character to do something or to succeed or fail or whatever it might be. But it's wrapped in this awful lack of attention to detail, um, where they think that the broad brush kind of character as written is enough to get your, what you're trying to say across, which is why Andor is so incredibly. I know writers these days, man. But by the way, Julian, I sold all of your stuff and I stole all your gold and your silver. Um, but basically, yeah, you have all these unfortunate. I'll pick on Willow to really illustrate it, because Willow is such a horribly written thing where you had a previously established property that was a fantasy world with all of these elements that they had already created, and they had an opportunity to build upon that, but the writing and directing basically said, okay, we have these 20, 30 something actors and we want them to act as though they're 20 or 30 something actors in Los Angeles. And that was really unfortunate. The language was so wrong. Like, all of the dialogue was just not great. There is one thing I will give the writers, one thing, where in Willow, the film, a ridiculous, artsy kind of fantasy film, but had all of the stuff behind it that was, crafted reasonably well. And one of those things was the character of that big villain with the skull mask, uh, who was chasing down Willow and whatnot. And they had that character basically introduce this element of there was a fighting force that were fighting the evil people, whoever the evil people were, because it wasn't really clear in the show. That were children of him. So he ran around raping and pillaging, impregnated a bunch of people, and the offspring of those people basically built an army to try and get him. And I thought that was actually a really cool story element that could have paid off in a great way, where you have this character who's this very evil guy, does all kinds of evil things, and the what happens, you have these children being birthed and being told what happened, and they grow up basically wanting revenge for their mothers, essentially. But they just pissed it all away. They introduced it. They had a highlight of him for like 5 or 10 minutes in one episode, and then it was gone. But they've already established that there's a bunch of characters that we're going to be following that have this history. But then it's like, okay, now we're going to talk about how we're going to go meet up with Pump Up the Volume, Christian, whatever the hell his name is, but not impregnated people. Yes, thank you, Jules. It's all about one's DEI score. That is sadly true. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just tired of that. So that's why I won't watch things that I'm like, that could be the coolest show ever, but it got canceled for one reason or another, and I just don't care anymore. So, are you done your beer?
Oh yeah.
Why aren't you drinking another? What's wrong with you?
Because I would have to take off my headphones and go get it.
Can't you just like look at your children and snap your finger and be like,
if I move, it's going to mess up the green screen and I won't be in Pizza Hut anymore. And people will see how I live.
I have beige walls and flowers or maps of the world or whatever it is. I
That's
forget.
why the service of this Pizza Hut sucks. Nobody's
Why
come
can't
by to
we?
fill up my drink.
I bought these special,
I'm not
bottomless
leaving a
beers.
tip.
Let's talk about something else. All of this dreariness of Jesus.
The stupid thing is the beer fridge is like literally like 3 feet away from me here. I could just like, you know, reach down for it.
That's you should invest in longer headset or longer headphone cabling.
Yeah.
You're like, I know.
Can I do this? Is there a way I could?
Give it a try?
Okay. We're
Just
gonna
move
go. We're gonna go
slowly.
all Mission Impossible here. Okay.
Dun 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 dun.
Talk amongst yourself.
Doo-doo. Hi everyone. I'm now going to run the show without Alan. I'm having a good time. Uh, I feel like I should have a Pizza Hut background too. I'm feeling left out. But anyone listening, I hope you're drinking a good beer tonight. I really hope that you are taking a moment to appreciate the God-given right to brew and drink beer. But Jules, yeah, I went over to your place today and I found your stash, and I now have it all laid out. And I have a guy coming tomorrow who's going to, you know, price it all out, and I'll sell it right away. Totally put a little sit down video. You know, that's what was that pizza place on Tillicum? Sort of just
On
like just down
Tillicum?
from Tillicum Mall, and I remembered it being a pizza pie man. Is that right?
No.
No, what was it
You
called?
mean further towards the gorge from Tillicum Mall?
Yes, yes,
Yes. That was it. Was yes, it was a Lantern House, but before that, it was a pizza patio.
pizza patio. That's what it was, because there was that like you had the kitchen and there was a big glass window and you could see them
Yes.
like
And you
tossing.
could, when it was your birthday, you could go in and make your own pizza, which would never be done today.
It wouldn't be done today. Why not?
Health inspections and all that.
Because you couldn't. I'm confused. You can't toss.
I don't think they would allow a kid to go into the kitchen who
Oh, to go into
hasn't
the
had
kitchen.
food
Oh,
safe
yeah, good point.
to
Well,
handle the food.
they
Like
might do it if they brought it to your
I
table or
was a
something.
little kid. I put my hand in the bins with all the toppings in them that they use to go and make other people's pizzas, which was probably fine. But
Well, you'd have to cook it prior to that. I mean, definitely.
yeah, I mean,
But
I was in
I
back all back there picking my nose and then putting my hand in with the mushrooms and
well, remember that there was that incredible like, why do we remember this place? Why do we remember exactly some plague-ridden urchin fingering all the food? Did we have stronger immune systems back then?
no, I don't think so. The people who died from the stuff aren't around to tell the tale.
Anyone who was subjected to the plague-ridden urchins. I'm well, honestly, today I'm feeling a little tired. Uh, pardon me, because yesterday I went over to the local London Drugs and was injected with my first of 2 shots for the plague. The what is it called? Shingles vaccine.
Oh,
Because I was my parents have been pestering me for a long time about it.
that's
Um,
expensive.
yeah, it's like $180 per. And I found out that my fancy healthcare insurance company does not cover this particular one,
Oh,
which is fascinating.
nobody's does. Mine doesn't.
So sad.
I've already had shingles
Oh
once,
God.
and this was a few years ago. I actually got it on my forehead,
Man.
and it wasn't that bad. Like, they always say it's like this blinding pain or whatever. It wasn't really. Um, I felt the pain after the lesion had gone, and I probably felt pain off and on, but it wasn't like blinding pain or anything. It was just sort of like a dull ache in my forehead. And I probably felt that for about 6 months.
Yeah, last year my one of my uncles got it on his back pretty badly.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine who passed away from lung cancer a little while ago, when he was in the hospital getting one of his treatments done, he was complaining for a little while about his having a sore throat. And they were like, "Oh, but he complained about it enough where they said, you know what? Let's look in your throat." And sure enough, he had shingles in his throat.
Yeah.
And I just, that to me is like, that's when I decided, okay, that's it. I'm not going to delay this. I'm going to get this done. So yeah,
I've heard of people who had it on their face and it started going up their nose, and
oh God, and we thought chicken pox were cute once. So yeah, so I got my first shot, and I think they said it'd be 2 to 6 months or something. I'll get it the next one, but after I heard about the throat thing, I thought, okay, it's time for me to do this.
Well, and I asked my doctor about it after I had shingles, and he said, well, yeah, I get it, but wait at least a year before you do it, because once you have shingles, you kind of have an immunity to it for about a year or so. But he did tell me that it was 2 shots, and the shots were $400 each.
What? Mine was 180 something, like 185.
Okay. So probably maybe he meant $400 total.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah. So for my second beer, I am having
Yes.
from a brewery called El Valle Salado, their salted lime lager.
Salted lime lager.
Vancouver.
Quick, Julian, tell us all about flavored beers and what happens to people when they drink them. El Valle Salado, where's that?
It's in
a Mexican brewery.
It's in North Van.
What?
Produced by La Cervecería Estileros. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Just looking it up. Oh, okay. A brewery tapper. Okay, so it is in North Van, but it sounds like they are possibly licensing something. But anyway, salted lime
really
lager.
Good. So basically, it's a craft brewed Corona, basically, that's already got the lime and the salt in it.
So by the way, Julian has wisdom: is if you drink that beer, you will apparently become gay.
Okay.
Oh my God, I must have been. Yes, Jules is very particular with flavored beer. It's for pregnant women or something, and I don't know, for something else.
Yeah.
33 acres of Nirvana. A good beer. I enjoyed it.
So I was just when I was in the beer fridge pulling this thing out, my son has a beer in there. It was actually 33 acres. It was an IPA, but it wasn't that one.
33 acres. I don't remember what else they make. Let me look it up here. Because they do have quite the selection.
Clouds.
Fluffy Clouds?
I think so.
God, their website is so strangely tiny. All right, so 33 acres is let's see. Acres of ocean, acres of sunshine, acres of darkness, acres of euphoria, What is it called?
I thought it was called Fluffy Clouds, but I was being kind of fast.
Oh, here you go. Fluffy Cloud IP. Well, that's a bizarre logo. Oh, there you go. That's what it is. Dank guava, passion fruit, and citrus pith. Oh, it's a hazy blonde. That sounds pretty good, actually.
I
don't know. Flavor, okay, grapefruit, rind, tangerine, and clear gummy bear.
What?
Yeah, that would be my comment as well. Julian says nothing wrong with that. Although lime and lager isn't the worst. Good night, John. We will talk to you another time, sir.
Good night.
So yeah, they're Fluffy Cloud IPA. Not a terrible beer, I guess. Let's steal it. Steal it.
I'm not stealing it.
He still works at the liquor store?
He does.
They can pith off.
He actually, as part of his work thing, they got to go on a tour of Phillips Brewery.
Oh,
yeah, and he thought it was very interesting. They got to actually see the vats and stuff.
Maybe he should become a brewmaster.
Maybe if the craft beer industry ever turns around.
Good point. I hear that the craft brewing industry is close to closing and failure. Would you believe?
Well, I was reading today that ABC Brewing, which is stands for Another Beer Company, has announced they're closing.
Really?
Yeah. I don't recall ever trying any of their product, but
they're the ones that have. Yeah, here we go. This is the ones that did the Expo 86 one. Here we go. The Expo 86 lager, I think it is.
Oh, I never saw that.
Or ale. Super crushable. Oh, that's very vegan friendly. Oh. Can't believe they're closing. This is terrible. Where do they have a find our beer, contact us? Where's our tell us more about the they have no social media? What's going on here? Oh, here we go. Beer imitates art. Oh, I hope they're not going to close. That's too bad.
I read about it today somewhere.
Another beer company closing. I hope not. Oh, yeah. Metro Vancouver Beer Company announces impending closure. Go. Dead tired. We needed to do this for our families. What? Shutting down in September. Decided to close down because it seemed to be the right time to do it. But the release hints at the attention and time and running your craft brewery takes. You know, honestly, I think that is not a terrible thing. A lot of reasons people don't like paying $5 to $10 per a beer. Yeah, this is true,
and that's true.
That's kind of unfortunate. I mean, oh, Steel and Oak commented, "Sad, broken heart." Oh, look, Il Visage Brewing Victoria also said, "No fun." I don't know. It is a hard business to be in. I mean, it's like any business where times get tough for whatever reason, but brewing, I think, definitely has.
Well, and now with the tariffs on aluminum being doubled,
exactly
announced yesterday or whatever it was.
Bastards. Tariffs? What? Oh, fuck off. Really? It's probably the only thing they know how to hurt us. Double the tariffs on steel and aluminum imports to 50%. I mean, where are they going to get cheaper aluminum? I mean, definitely not across the pond.
Nope.
What's this? Millennials who are too lazy to brew their own beer? Bastards. Absolute bastards. I mean, I think that every time somebody moves into our building, I myself or Julian will tell them to begin brewing immediately. It's I think a rule. It's the law. I mean, come on. How could we not?
Too true.
Which reminds me, Jules, I need you to get me a supply of yeast. I'm running out. I need it. I need it soon. I got buckets ready to go.
And preferably not yeast from your underwear.
Remember those beers that we were looking at that were supposed to be like vagina yeast or something?
Yeah.
But they never do. Well, then get me some yeast and I'll prove them wrong. I'll pretend I'm a millennial for a day. Oh my God, I just am so horrified. I'm so horrified. You know, actually, something that would be interesting to do is to try and get yeast out of the air. I'm not sure how you would use it per se, but I wonder. Apparently, I remember years ago we were talking about yeast and whatnot, and we found some stories about people that took a essentially a rag and they were driving a motorcycle across Europe and they decided to put a rag on like an antenna or something and collect yeast out of the air. And then they used it to brew beer. So that was kind of cool.
Interesting.
Never do. I doubt you're running out. I'm so running out. I'm at the end. I need yeast to survive. Because if I don't brew now, life will get very difficult very soon.
Why don't you just go to the grocery store and get some Fleischmann's?
Because that's no air yeast is interesting. Sorry, what? Come on, sir. Air yeast. Why is that not interesting? Here's the problem. Julian has been spoiled brewing beer because he gets yeast from, important people. And they're like high, amazing yeast.
Let's call a spade here.
All right.
Julian is a snob, a beer snob. And I don't think I mean that's not a bad thing. It's not a slight against Julian. It's just the way it is. Things have to be done a certain way, and you do it that way, or you're gay. Whatever.
So there you go, Julian. You heard it here on the Crafty Boys. Oh my God. Yep. You learn everything here on this show. You learn about every facet of brewing. Apparently.
I love Julian.
God. Julian is amazing. Julian is apparently on the rock right now. He's up, I don't know, chopping down trees and roaring around in boats and farting against thunder.
Nice.
I think that's his usual self.
I picture Julian to be like Relic from the Beachcombers.
I have thought of him as Relic for years. I'm glad you finally said it aloud.
Yeah. I can just see him like driving around in a jet boat, picking up logs and trying to beat old Adonis or whatever his name was.
Adonis.
Well, what was the characters, like the main character's name on Beachcombers?
Bela Lugosi, not Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi.
See, so that's the latest photograph
Relic.
of Julian. There he is. That's what Julian does every day. That's his usual operating mode. Oh my God, what is What is his name?
It was Bruno Gerussi was the real name.
Yeah, I know, but what is the character's name? I can't think of.
It was like Dodonis or Adonis or something.
Hang on, I'm looking it up. Here we go. Bruno Gerussi as Nick Adonius. So this is up here, Nick Adonius. I mean, I would pronounce it Adonis, but
Oh, Adonidas.
hey guys, long time lurk here. No, really, I heard you said earlier about watching any series like a Cats Words. Taboo. Tell me more about this. I want to know more.
I actually have never heard of Taboo.
No, neither have I. I mean, if it's anything like Firefly, I mean, I still want a second season of Firefly, but the show's done. I mean, the story's been told. But based on Jack the Ripper times, very cool. Oh, interesting. Now, have I heard of this before, or is this just a common trope in TV where I'm going to look this up. Talk amongst yourselves.
There's only me here. I can't talk.
Oh, sorry, man. Myself. Oh, this is a Tom Hardy show? This is a series from 2017. Ran for one season. Oh, interesting. So, what did I just click on? So, this is Tom Hardy, Jonathan Pryce. Who else is in this? Franca Potenti? Really?
Rory Calhoun?
Rory Calhoun! I know a ton of these people. That's fascinating. Michael Kelly, of all actors, I would never guess him being in this at all. Interesting. 1812 rebuild his late father's job. Okay. I will check that one out.
Okay.
But the definitely it is something that does catch my eye. But Tom Hardy is a great performer. I mean, that guy kind of reminds me of the Christian Bale actor, where they're kind of the same level of performance, like the same sort of quality of performance. It kind of like there's a show called Carnival, which is 2 seasons, got canceled before its time. So there are definitely series to basically agree that there are shows that even if the story is not complete, they are worth digging into. And Carnival was definitely one of those. It was a show that ran for 2 seasons. The concept was interesting. And I recommend watching it, even though the story kind of ends, not necessarily on a cliffhanger, but definitely ends in a way that's not awesome. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely so many things that I would like to watch that I have not. Generally, I'm not a TV watcher. Like, I will watch something that I really, really, really want to watch. So I won't just pick up a show and continue with it. I have particular reasons I watch things. If I want to turn off, because I'm a self-employed guy, turning off from work is more difficult than a 9 to 5, regular, sort of schedule. So, because I could end up working 12 hours a day if I really wanted to, but I have to go and jump into programming that's not very challenging. Like right now, I've decided. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this if I'm going to watch something like Andor, I make an effort to actually watch it, where I won't pick up TV that often even though I'm subscribed to 7,000 different streaming things. But um, but Carnival would fall into that sort of level. Uh, a lot of BBC shows, even procedurals like police procedurals, stuff like that. Um, I might watch on a somewhat regular basis if they catch me right away. Um, but I definitely have shows like the one I was going to say, like the show that I'm watching right now for complete turn off brain, watch something I can fall asleep to and not care, is a show called Supernatural, which was filmed locally here in town, and it's supernatural stuff, whatever, hence the title. But a bunch of local actors that I know, um, show up periodically. Uh, but it's forgettable. Like it's sure it has
Yeah.
some cool stuff going on that might be interesting once in a while, but ultimately, whatever. It's a weekly monster of the week kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Snore. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of people that don't watch TV, Julian is one of them. But then you run into things like Fargo. I just watched about 3 or 4 episodes over the last few weeks of the show Fargo, which is a sequel-ish to the Fargo movie from back in the late 90s. But it's more of a proof of concept for the first season. I've been reading about how the writer basically said, I'm going to write this, I'm going to film this, I'm going to direct it. Even though the Coen brothers who made the movie were like, whatever, dude, we're out. He could get the license to do it. But he did a first season, and then the Coen brothers said, holy shit, that was fucking really good. We want to be involved now. So the second season, like I guess has 5 seasons or something. So they continued and they actually helped this guy continue telling these stories. It's kind of an anthology-ish kind of thing where there's like an arc per season, but every season the characters are completely different. So I watch TV. Yeah, you watch fucking hockey, man. That's what you watch. You don't watch anything else. It's hockey or nothing. So yeah.
He probably watches baseball too. See, that's me. I watch baseball and I watch hockey. And that's about it.
I don't watch hockey, but I definitely will watch the CFL, especially if the team is green and white. But after that, I mean, really, I mean, I would actually watch baseball more than hockey. I mean, that's kind of my thing. It's mostly crap. Well, of course, it's mostly crap. I mean, they got to fill the 24-hour thing. I mean, come on. Yeah, exactly. Fucking hockey watching bastard. But I don't know. I guess just really I like to watch fiction from time to time more often than sports. But again, I am a bandwagon guy, and I will jump on to insert Canadian team playing in whatever the hell sport. But I don't know. I mean, but I'm not invested. I guess I mean, I can watch it.
Yeah.
But baseball, though, I don't know.
I could get into any team. Like,
Yeah?
It doesn't even have to be my team. I can get into any game.
What is your team in American baseball?
Well, as a Canadian, I mean, I got to root for the Toronto Blue Jays. However, the local team is the Seattle Mariners.
Okay. I mean,
Julian... And neither of them are doing very well. So,
well, I know that Julian went to a baseball game with a friend of the show, Ben, recently. And I gather, from what I understand, from all reports, Julian bought the 48-inch dick. 40, actually, what? Not 40. If you buy a hot dog at the game, there's one that's like a yard long or something. Julian, explain this. The big, huge hot dog. No one TV's directed to people like you, Shane. Yeah, I demand quality, writing, directing, production. But Julian, please tell us all about
why he watches like The Bachelorette.
Fuck. Actually, I was listening to the CBC yesterday, and they were talking a lot about how um, reality TV is finally dying
God, thank
because
God.
that it's that the production level, because of things like YouTube and whatnot, there's enough content out there to distract people to watch that rather than the Wives of Surrey or something, whatever the hell the show's going. Is it 3 feet long? Is that what it is? No 3 foot longs were harmed. Anyway, I spoke to Ben today, and he brought up your hot dog love for them or something. Anyway, how's your beer doing?
It's good.
Excellent. It, I did you give us any details about this beer other than
I think we've covered it on the show
did we?
before.
Oh, have we really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I forget it.
But it's good. It's a lager with lime and salt. It's basically like a Corona that was served to you with a lime wedge in it, and you did the whole thing with but without that step.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I'm very relaxed.
Good. Speaking of shows that ended prematurely, there was one that I was really into, and it ended prematurely, and that was the Sarah Connor Chronicles with Terminator.
That was with Cersei Lannister, I think.
I don't know. I know it had Summer Glau in it.
Cersei Lannister or Ciri, whatever the hell her name is, was Sarah Connor.
Okay. It was a really compelling show, and it only lasted 2 seasons. And then it ended. The saving grace was when they ended season 2, they didn't know that there would be a season 3, so they kind of left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, but depending on how you take it, you could take it as a complete ending as well.
Only 31 episodes. Oh, interesting. I know that I watched a couple of episodes at least in the first season.
It was really good.
God, it was canceled. It was canceled in May of 2009.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They had the Writers Guild. That's right. They had the strike at that point. Oh, that must have hurt it a lot. Lena Headey. So Lena Headey, she was Sarah Connor, who then, of course, went off to become a Lannister in Game of Thrones. So, but fascinating thing about her is she did. Let's see if I can see it here. She did the 2012 film. Where's her filmography? Awards, films. Here we go. 2012 Dread. So if you've ever watched Dread, I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, to check it out.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Loretta Swit died yesterday. I think if I remember correctly. Yeah. But if you ever watched Dread, it's probably the best Dread. I mean, there was the film with Adrian back in the day, but this was a far better film. Starred Carl Urban, who this dude here, from stuff like Lord of the Rings, but also
Star Trek and the Kelvin universe.
The Kelvin universe. But he's a cool dude. But anyway, this was one of the best stories. The point I'm bringing up is that Lena Headey was the villain in that film. So she was like this drug addict, massive megalomaniac kind of person. And it was amazing. Like I really wish this film had a sequel, because the Judge Dredd thing is hard to do. I think when you have the you know, oh my god, who is Adrian again? My god, Expendables, Rambo. Why am I blanking on
Sylvester
his name?
Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. Well, that film was definitely a comic book thing, where this film was trying to get away from that. But of course, the screenplay was done by Garland, who does a lot of amazing work. And I think that if you have not read his novels or watched his films, I highly recommend them. He's the guy that created 28 Days Later. He did Never Let Me Go, an adaptation of that novel. Um, very, very good novel. Very, very good screenplay of that. But yeah, he's doing some really interesting work, including Warfare, which is, I think, the one of the more realistic uh, films about what people do when they're, trying to kill somebody and somebody's trying to kill them at the same time, like what actually happens on the street level. But anyway, blah 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 blah. I'm tired. I need to go to bed.
Okay.
But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for people in the chat. We do this for fun, and we'll do it again next Saturday. And hopefully you will come and drink beer with us. Alan, get naked.
All right.
Bye, everybody.